Alright, hello and welcome back. In this video quick tip tutorial, I'm going to go over the sculpting tools in the surface sculpting mode. Now, last video, if you watched it, was about the voxel portion of Kodon. And I'm just going to continue right where I left off and make a little video about the main sculpting tools, as we call them. This is a surface-based sculpting. And surface-based sculpting basically means that there's no volume attached to this model anymore. It's all about vertices and polygons. The old traditional way, as we like to say. And usually when I've just completed a mesh like this, I've just made it in the voxel sculpting portion of the program, and I brought it into the surface-oriented sculpting part. I usually like to start off with either Move or the Crease Brush. As you can see here on the menu, if I'm holding it at a good enough distance. I usually start up with Move. Now, if you're having trouble with the selector, bringing it closer to the other model really helps. Like, you can have it out here and select, but it is a bit more difficult than if you just bring it up close. Now, as you can see, it comes out of this little white divot thing at the end. So if you just hold that directly over, a lot of people seem to be having problems with this. We have been discussing to have like a laser pointer. We tried that in the beginning, but then people complained that it was difficult to hit the buttons and stuff. And it might have something to do with the size of the buttons. We'll look more into that. Anyways, let's get back to the video tutorial. So I'll select Move here, and I'll close the menu by pressing the Close Menu button. And I'm going to increase the size of it. Now you can remove these quick tips. I'm going to leave them on for the video, but you can remove them by opening the menu and then, as you can see, pressing the alternate button, which is the button at the top that says Hold to Invert Tool, a hold to invert the menu, kind of. And I go here and I can turn off so that I only have size and power, or I can turn off so that I have none. But for now, I'm going to keep them all, just for the sake of the tutorial. And I'm going to slide my thumb on the right stick here to kind of increase the size of my Move tool. And I'm just going to do some, like, I'm not going to say proportional corrections, because this is just like a weird alien type of dude, and I don't really... You know, proportions can be important there as well, but not as important. Here in the surface sculpting tools, undoing is just a-okay. You don't need to worry about it messing up your model or everything going very badly because you tried to undo something like is presently going on in the voxel portion of the software. But, you know, it's something we're working on. We're going to fix it. Don't worry. So I'm just playing around with a little bit of the shapes that I brought in from the voxel sculpting thing. Let's see maybe if I can improve a little bit, you know, make a little bit more of an interesting shape. Now, don't judge my artmanship here sometimes. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you don't. And that's sculpting. especially in VR, can mess up things quite quickly. But it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to just be able to shape your own models while you look at them in 3D. So after I've done with the Move, I usually go over to the Crease Brush. Now the Crease Brush, it can be a bit tricky if you don't really know how to use it. The trick is to kind of keep this white ball a little bit over the surface. Now, we want to, in the future, create it so that you can that this snaps to the surface, so you don't have to hold it exactly at the surface. But for now, you know, we work with what we get, is what I like to say. So I'm going to reduce the power a little bit, and I'm just going to try and mark out some little divots. And using a big size on this as well it can be quite useful. And another tip that I have is that you see the little area in the middle here? Maybe I'm too close now. It's a bit messed up. And for that, we want to smooth. Now you can go into the menu and click the smooth brush to change to the smooth brush permanently, and pressing the trigger will smooth. Or you can just see this little thing popping up on my on my left hand here. That's just me touching the touchpad. Now, personally, for the moment, I think for the Vive version, it doesn't work as well because you kind of scaling and smoothing and changing your brush to the smooth brush at the same time. And it might be something that we want to change in the future. But for now, that's what I'm doing. So I'm just holding my hand on this to change my brush into the smoothing brush. So there we go. I'm creating some lines. And let's do the same up here on this kind of face area. Getting in some sculpted things. Making it a bit bigger, it really helps when you're doing like small details or something smaller. Making your model bigger really helps out with that. And so I just usually, it depends on what I'm making, of course. It really depends on the model that you're trying to make. You know, if you're just, if you know exactly what you want to do, then, you know, you don't do this step. But I usually like to kind of go around and define areas with the crease brush. Because that's what it's very good at, and sometimes you need to increase. You can increase the power by touching left and right. It's a little bit odd as well for the moment, and on the Vive, since we haven't really tested much with the Vive in the beginning, mostly because, you know, Oculus, they sent us a lot of free sets, and that's mostly what I've been working with. And since I'm the main tester, that kind of became the fact that the Oculus was a bit more tested, and the controls for the Oculus is a little bit better for the moment. But that's something that we've kind of changed now. I'm going to be mostly testing with the Vive. We've been sent a new set. We got a new set of Vive, so that's what I'm going to be working with in most of the future. Now, I'll still be testing a little bit with the Oculus, but I want to really get into the Vive. I think it's a lot better with the precision and stuff. So after I've kind of fiddled around and, you know, tried to find some interesting shapes that I want to follow, and I kind of go over to the other tools, like the clay brush. It's a little bit weird, but it has its uses. That's definitely true. Now I can see that my mesh resolution is still a little bit low, so I'm going to open the alternate menu, and I'm going to subdivide again. 200,000 polygons. Could probably even subdivide again, but I'm going to take it one step at a time. It's not smart to just go all the way right away. It's smart to just take it a little bit at a time, add some more detail, take it a little bit longer, and a little bit further. So here I'm using the clay brush to kind of like build up, and if you invert the clay brush, it kind of scrapes away, which can be quite useful in that manner. And if you don't like it, you can just undo and redo at your pleasure. And sculpt a little bit here. try to get something cool going with the crease brush. Like so. It's a bit funny, huh? It's not always it goes your way, and that's kind of the way of the tool at the moment. It requires a bit of patience, a bit of trial and error. Me as a sculptor myself, I've used ZBrush a lot, and I find that in the rough sculpting process of Kodon is really where the software shines for the moment. The detailing part can be a little bit difficult, but it's still fun. It's still a lot of fun. I can get some, if I work on it a lot, I can get some nice sculptures going with Kodon. Even just detailing. Just takes a little work. I'm not sure it takes so much more time. I don't know. It feels a bit like it's a little bit work. I took my time on the other one, and I spent about 3 hours altogether, which I'm talking about the demon thing that I did in the promotional video for version 0.5. Yeah. As you can see, I'm using the Glob tool here, and it's really good in its alternate form to kind of like just scrape or like dig in like a little like an ice cream scooper. And you just kind of use it like, I use it like that the most, digging in with the ice cream scooper to make these like curved indentations. Whereas I like to use the clay brush a little bit more for like building up or scraping flatter surfaces. But this brush can be quite useful as well. It was the first brush that was made. Now it's been changed a bit. I kind of feel like the original version was a little bit better, so we've kind of gone a little bit backwards. But that's the way of, software development. Sometimes you try something new, doesn't quite work the way you expected it to, and we're just gonna go back on it, I think, and make it a bit more like it was in the beginning, where I kind of felt like I had a little bit more control with it. Now it's a little bit more, it's more surface based now, so it's kind of based on the normal. Whereas before it was more based on the volume of the brush itself. And there we go. So yeah. I'd say that more or less about covers the sculpting tools. This limit buildup thing is probably one of the only things I didn't comment on. And what it does, it just makes sure that for your one stroke, it really kind of keeps a level. It kind of keeps one level of sculptiness, of power, yeah. But if I turn it off, you can see I can kind of really like destroy the mesh if I wanted to. But I kind of like it off because it gives me more freedom. It doesn't limit me like the tool says. But to each their own. It's all about preference in the end when it comes to this kind of sculpting. Yeah. I didn't cover the Inflate Tool. The Inflate Tool can be quite useful. If you get some thin parts on your model and you wanted them to be a little bit thicker, be careful with the power though, because it's quite powerful. Like if I want to fill in his like neck muscle here, it's quite good at like just bulging up areas. As you can see, let's say I want to make his like chin, like make a little like bulge on the end there. That's quite funny. I think I like to turn down the power a little bit. Yeah, there you go. We got our little dude. The bulgy kind of chin. Bulgy a bit like there. Yeah, and all the brushes can kind of be inverted, though I don't recommend inverting the Inflate brush because it makes crystals, basically. It's a bit broken right now. It does work if you keep it a bit like on the outside of the mesh. It'll kind of push away from this center, but as soon as you bring it inside the mesh, it'll really like just mess up your mess. To create like some sort of crystal mesh. The pinch brush, I didn't go over that. It's basic. It's basic. It's a pinch brush. It squeezes your geometry together to make it smaller. Pinches things. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Doesn't really need like if you make a crease and you thought it was too thick, you can just go over with the pinch brush and you know, make it a bit thinner. Can be very useful for some things. Definitely. Other than that, yeah, I think I got it mostly covered. Remember to save your models. Click save, start saving, and it'll say no one save changes when it's completed saving. Besides that, it's painting. I think I'll cover that in this video as well. Why not? I'm already on the go and I got this model up and loaded. But it's also kind of a self-explanatory thing. You got size, sets the size of the brush. Power sets how much paint is going to come out at once. So let's say I have a little lag there. So let's say I have like orange. Not so shiny. Let's say I have orange here. And no, it doesn't. Yeah, sorry about that. I had the power so low that it was almost impossible to see any change. But if I turn up the power, you can see we're painting orange. I guess it'll be easier to see if I use like a green and I have the power really low. Yeah, no. Yeah, here you can see it's slightly changing. So the power, if you have it really low, you might not feel like you're painting much, but increasing the power there, you can get a lot of nice, cool effects going. And you can also fill your object with a current color. Yeah, a cool thing is that it's depth-based. So you see when I'm painting on top here, the outer parts get painted first, which makes it very, very cool. Gives you the ability to like really in-depth sculpt without having to use like, because in ZBrush you would kind of use masking to kind of get this sort of effect, but here you kind of just get it out the gate by the fact that it's all 3D. And the crevices will kind of keep the... You can, of course, paint the crevices if you really just dig in there. But it kind of first affects the parts that are furthest out on the mesh. Oh, my power is really high up in here. And I really like that sort of portion of the brush. Might not be for everybody, though. As you can see, you can quickly kind of like paint your model in this sort of, you know, whatever shade you want, whatever kind of color. And yeah, just have fun with it. Sometimes you get these little error shading errors. You can either undo them, or you can just really paint over them. It's something we're looking to fix as well, of course. I mean, we don't want people to have to deal with our little errors everywhere. But so now we got this green and purple dude. We can change the material shininess. Say, I want to paint red on this area up here. It'll be now a really shiny red color, as you can see. Or if I say I want a metal, I could have like a metal area up here. And these other sliders do exactly the same thing. Now I have maximum fall off. If I turn off the fall off a bit, I'll get a crisper line around there. Now painting can be a bit heavy because of the way it's programmed for the moment. It can just really like take over your system. But you see now he's like got like a little golden metal splotch on top of his head there, which can be cool if that's what you're going for. You know, we can even create some like really cool effects. Now it's based on your mesh underneath. So if you get some stretching like this, it's probably because the mesh isn't dense enough, or you know, the model needs some extra topology, in which case you can subdivide, or you might not be able to more at the point, you might be at the limit of your system or the software, whichever you like to blame. And you know, yeah, so here we got this guy. He's got some metal makeup or whatever on him. He's like a purple dude. Yeah, so that's the painting part. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Like I said in the last video, if there's something you don't understand, if there's some problems, some bugs, please just report them. Go to the Steam forum first of all. That's where you get the biggest response, probably the quickest. I'll write you a long post and try to even make another video maybe to explain something to you. Other than that, you can you can post on the video here. I'll probably answer you there as well, or you can go to the Reddit post and post there. This is probably where I'll spend the most time in, before I answer you, because I don't check it every day like I do with the Steam link. Yeah, so I guess that's about it for sculpting with Kodon. Save your models, like I said, and enjoy sculpting.